Recording in progress.
Hello, Shanti. Good evening. Welcome,
Santi, good evening. Good morning.
Shanti. So, everyone is doing well. So today, yeah. You're from Nepal, Bindaben, Nepal?
जी भाई
Good, good. से पहुंच के
हाँ जी अच्छे से पहुंच गए
Today we have chosen the theme, don't be a slave to your emotions. Don't be a slave to your emotions. Which means be a, what should we be? If we are not a slave, then we become a
master.
So not to be a slave, but to be a master of our emotions. Yeah. Baba talked about that many times. The soul, the kingdom of the soul is hijacked by, we say the mind. Right? And when the soul is in charge, and the kingdom is ruled by the qualities of the soul, which is love, peace, happiness, contentment. But when the kingdom of the soul is kind of overthrown, then it's the mind that rules. And that's where the emotions basically rule. So if we were to define, slave means gulam. Gulam. So if we were to define an emotion, what is an emotion? How do we define an emotion? Yeah. Reaction, right? Momentary, right? Yeah. Right. So Baba says emotion is energy in motion. That's what it is. Emotion is energy in motion. So suddenly we'll feel a rush of, right? Let's say anger. It could be sadness. Could be, right? It's like disheartenment, sudden rush of, as if it is raining, just when it rains very heavily, in the same way, these emotions come. So emotions could be good also and bad also, right? Right. So there are positive emotions also, right? So emotions of love, of belonging, of acceptance. So they are pure emotions also, right? So sometimes we say, oh, someone, is too emotional. So when someone is very emotional, what happens is their mind can be little sensitive. So we need to be careful how to say, what to say, right? And sometimes we say, oh, this one is emotionally stable. So whatever happens, their state of mind doesn't change. Their stage doesn't deviate. So which means they are not a slave to their emotions. So today the thought is to look at it a little deeper. What is an emotion and how do we achieve this stage of mastery, to master our emotions? Okay, it says CEOs are hired for their intellect and business expertise and fired for a lack of emotional intelligence. So if someone has good intelligence, have very good understanding of things, it's definitely good. But if I'm not emotionally intelligent, which means I don't know what to say, when to say, and how to address people, then it becomes a difficulty. And that's what it says. If someone is not emotionally grounded, right? So, so emotional intelligence is very important to live a peaceful life. Right? So this intelligence is good to have, but this is not enough, right? And people with low level, जी जी तो अगर इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस नहीं है तो हम भले ही बहुत बड़े पद पे हों, पर अगर इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस नहीं है तो फिर उसका कोई फायदा नहीं। हाँ मतलब हमारे अंदर सारी काबिलियत, हम हर चीज अच्छे से करते हों, पर अगर हमारे इमोशंस ठीक नहीं है, राइट, तो फिर वो हमारे डे टू डे अफेयर्स में प्रॉब्लम, इट विल क्रिएट अ प्रॉब्लम. So that's why being emotionally mature or stable is very important. And so, pehle, early times they used to measure IQ. So IQ is intelligence quotient. And nowadays, this IQ is old because everyone has intelligence. Everyone is intelligent. But beyond IQ, there is EQ. EQ means emotional quotient. Emotional quotient means even if intellectually I'm not that good, but emotionally, if I am good, then I'll succeed more in life. Even though intellectually I'm not average, but emotionally I'm able to control my emotions well. I don't react, right? That's what even companies want, right? So you need to work in a team. You need to understand what to say, when to say, how to say, right? All those things are very important. Even though you're saying the right thing, but how you are saying, that is so important, right? So that's called emotional intelligence. So it says feelings are temporary, but the impact they have on our lives can be permanent. Feelings are temporary, but the impact they can have on our lives is permanent. So one temporary feeling came, frustration, anger, and I have done something out of it. So the impact of it will be long lasting. The feeling is temporary. So when a feeling comes, they say, if you're feeling angry, what you should do? Uh, yeah. So it says count. So pehle kehte the count to 10. Means don't do anything, don't say anything, just keep counting internally. Count to 10. And the researchers have shown that these days 10 is not enough. You need to count to 30. They say 30. So when I feel angry about something, these days it can happen, right? Because there's so many avenues. I can send an email, I can write a text out of anger, I can say something out of anger, frustration. So before doing that, take the 30, like count 30 up to 30, so that you're not under the influence of that temporary emotion, right? Because the impact that it will have will be long lasting. Right. So what it says is our stress is not caused by rising pressures in professional or personal life. It is caused by responding to life with an emotionally disturbed mind. So it's not about the challenges or the pressures that make me stressful, but if I respond to life with an emotionally disturbed mind, it is then that I experience stress. So, what is the key here? Not to be emotionally disturbed. Not to be emotionally disturbed. And how do I do that? So, there is IQ, there is EQ, and there is another Q, which is above EQ. And what is that? So it's called SQ, spiritual quotient. Because when I'm spiritually grounded, means I'm able to be aware of myself, my thoughts, of the moment, of others. Then it's easier to channelize my emotions, not to react, not to say whatever comes to mind. They say, don't say what you feel, say what you want to say. Because many times when we just say what I'm feeling, that makes the situation chaotic. So they say, don't say what you're feeling. No, say what you want to say. Because sometimes I may not actually want to say that, but I'm just, just saying my feelings. So being emotionally mature and grounded is very important. So it says life is 10% what happens to me, and 90% of how I react to it. The life is 10% what happens to me. Means whatever is happening to me is only important for 10%. What is 90% important is how I am responding or reacting to it. With an emotionally disturbed mind or an emotionally stable mind. And that's what determines the quality of mood. And the vision happens, but the reaction 90%. So what I do, how I react, is more important than whatever is happening. It's about the and the reaction becomes the vision. It is right. So this says what is more important. Yeah, no, it says that how I deal with the situation is more important than the situation. परिस्थिति तो आई, परिस्थिति 10% इम्पोर्टेंट है, पर हम परिस्थिति से कैसे डील कर रहे हैं वो 90% इम्पोर्टेंट है. क्या हम शांति से कर रहे हैं या मन में थोड़ा बहुत उलझन है उससे कर रहे हैं. अच्छा, so we'll watch a little clip and then forward.
Emotional Intelligence Explained. Everybody has emotions. It's a simple fact, a part of our being human. And whether we realize it or not, these emotions impact us and those around us every single day. Emotional intelligence describes a method of identifying and controlling these emotions so that they work for us, not against us. The concept of emotional intelligence became popular in the 1990s through the work of Daniel Goleman, who was a science writer for the New York Times. Goleman was among a growing group of researchers who were concerned with how little traditional tests of cognitive intelligence told us about what it takes to be successful in life. And he argued that it was not just cognitive intelligence that guaranteed business success, but also our emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is the keystone of emotional intelligence. Becoming self-aware is the process of understanding yourself, being aware of the way you feel and the impact your feelings can have on your decisions and actions. Building self-awareness requires tuning in to your feelings, and developing the ability to recognize an emotion as it happens. Put simply, if you are tuned into your emotions, you can better manage them. Awareness of others can be simply described as the ability to understand and respond to the needs of others. Get this right, and people feel valued, listened to, and understood. Get it wrong, and you can be seen as uncaring or insensitive. The more skillful you are at picking up other signals, the better you'll be at connecting with them. We all recognize that different situations can trigger different emotions in us. A family Christmas may trigger joy or anxiety. A call to the boss's office may trigger excitement or worry. Emotional intelligence doesn't place a value on the emotions we experience, but it allows us to acknowledge our emotion as it occurs and the opportunity to choose how to respond. In the disc flow model, your level of emotional intelligence is assumed to be the factor which enables how well you control your behavior. It is acknowledged that a person with high levels of emotional intelligence is better able to manage themselves according to the demands of the environment they find themselves in. Put simply, by increasing your emotional intelligence, you'll become a better communicator, strengthen your relationships with others, and improve the overall quality of your life. As the American poet Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
It says people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's where emotional maturity or stability or being able to channelize, control my own emotions becomes so important. So we hear stories about Brahma Baba, right? And what we hear is Brahma Baba was a child with children, right? And he was a senior with adults. He became a mother with mothers, right? He became a brother with brothers. Why? Because he was able to be sensitive to where the other person is coming from. And sometimes Baba also says is first to check the pulse. What it really means is to connect to souls at an emotional level first, before even sharing something. And so that is emotional intelligence. So there is another quote. It says, master your emotions or be mastered by the emotions of others. If I don't master my emotions, then who is ruling my mind? Emotions of others. Right? Because then I will be constantly influenced by that. So, and I can just be in charge of my own emotions. Acha. So out of the three faculties that are there of the soul, what are the three faculties of the soul? Mind, intellect, and sanskars. So where do emotions come? In the mind. So let's see how do we understand the mind and how do we understand how emotions come in the mind, right? So mind is a beautiful servant, but a dangerous master. So if the soul is in charge, then the mind will serve beautifully. Means that when the mind is working for the soul, it is a very beautiful relationship. But when the soul is working for the mind, right? Because when the mind becomes the master and the soul is trying to please the mind. So the mind has so many, feelings, emotions, desires, and the soul is trying to please the mind. Then it is a dangerous relationship because mind is a dangerous master. So that's what Baba said, right? Like, don't allow the mind to be in charge. You stay in charge. Acha. So let's see what happens and what is our relationship with mind, and how do we know when the mind is strong or when the mind is weak. It says, when mind is weak, the situation becomes problem. अगर मन वीक है, कमजोर है, तो कोई भी परिस्थिति समस्या बन जाती है. When the mind is balanced, the situation becomes a challenge. जब मन बैलेंस्ड है तो कोई भी सिचुएशन चैलेंज बनती है. When mind is strong, that situation becomes opportunity. तो जब मन स्ट्रांग है, शक्तिशाली है, तो वही परिस्थिति हमारे लिए एक आगे के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी है. So that's how we start to see. It's all mind's game. It's all a game of mind. So the moment I shift my perspective, I'm able to then shift my experience, right? Because that's how I will shift my emotions. Right. Yes. So, right. Yeah. Right. Acha. It says, it's a nice quote by Socrates. It says, strong minds discuss ideas. Strong minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Weak minds discuss people. So how do I know कि मेरे मन की स्थिति strong है, weak है या average है? So if a lot of thoughts are coming about people, ये हुआ, इसने ये कहा, इसने ये बोला, नहीं? People, which means mind is weak. Right? It's weak. If I'm thinking about events, ये हुआ, ऐसे हुआ, आगे क्या होगा? If I'm only thinking about events, then the mind is average. But if I'm thinking about ideas means like I'm above, right? I'm thinking about the self and deeper realization, deeper meaning of life. That's like knowledge, spiritual wisdom. Right? That means the mind is strong. Right? So suppose a situation comes. What is the tool I have to respond to it? The mind, right? Through which. So when will my response be better? When the mind is weak or strong? When the mind is strong. So to be emotionally mature, the mind should be strong. Right? So the mind has to be strong. So that's the very easy way to respond to anything. Is first to be in the state of mind which is strong. And only then. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. So all that happens when the mind is strong. Acha, so we watch Right. Right.
Situation.
Right. Mm. So we have a little story. We'll watch and then we'll.
One morning, Mr. Ethan, a philosophy professor, was taking a walk with his students near a quiet countryside path that passed by a few local farms. Among his students were Leo, Aaron, and Chris, curious young minds always ready for a life lesson. As they strolled, they noticed a farmer struggling with his cow. The man was trying hard to pull the animal forward with a thick rope, but the cow refused to move even an inch. It planted its hooves firmly into the ground, staring stubbornly at the grass ahead. After watching for a moment, Mr. Ethan said, "Hold on, sir. Would you mind if I use this as a small example for my students?" The farmer smiled and stepped aside. Mr. Ethan turned to his class and said, "Look closely, everyone. Tell me, who is truly tied to whom? Is the cow tied to the man, or is the man tied to the cow?" Leo answered quickly,
Now,
"Sir,
let's
the
see
cow
what
is
we
tied
have
to the man is holding the rope, so he's in control. Wherever he goes, the cow follow." Mr. Ethan nodded and said, "But let's test it." He took a small knife from his pocket and gently cut the rope. In an instant, the cow bolted away into the nearby field. The farmer, panicking, ran after it. Mr. Ethan turned back to his students and smiled softly. "Now tell me," he said, "who was truly tied?" There was silence. Then Chris murmured, "It seems the man was the one tied, not the cow." "Exactly," said Mr. Ethan. "The cow didn't care about the man. The moment it got the chance, it ran away. Yet look at the man, chasing after it, desperate to get it back. That's how our minds work too." He paused for a moment before continuing. "We hold on to our anger, fears, and jealousies the same way. We believe we're controlling them, but they're the ones controlling us. These thoughts don't belong to us, and we're the ones clinging to them. And when we finally decide to let them go, they disappear, just like the cow." The student stood quietly, reflecting on his words. Mr. Ethan smiled and said gently, "Freedom doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go. The more we cling, the more we lose peace. But the moment we choose to release what doesn't serve us, we become truly free." As they continued their walk, a light breeze passed through the fields, and for a moment everything felt still, calm, just like the mind when it finally let.
So what do we learn from the story? After the class, we will share.
Let go
What do we learn?
let go and be free and live peacefully.
So it's like, was the cow tied to the man, or was the man tied to the cow? And so the reality is that the man was tied to the cow. And so when the man would release the cow, then he will also be free, actually. So in the same way, the soul is holding on to whatever, right? And so the moment I realize, by letting go, I come in control. By holding on, I give my control to the situation, but only by letting go do I take the control back. And so letting go is important than holding. Right. And so that's the art of managing our emotions. So the more I learn to let go, the more I learn to be in charge. So we will have a few different, it says, important guidelines in life. So there's 7 important guidelines in life. First, when you are alone, watch your thoughts. When you are with friends, watch your tongue. It's what you're speaking. When you are angry, watch your temper. When you are with a group, watch your behavior. When you are making money, watch your pride. When you are in trouble, watch your emotions. When God starts blessing you, watch your ego. Right? So all the time, what do I have to do? Keep watching. So that's the strategy or method to be emotionally stable. Is to keep watching. So whatever is happening, but I keep watching. Right? So when I'm alone, I keep watching my thoughts. When I'm with people, means I don't allow the emotions to overpower me. So my attention is inside, not outside. Because the moment the attention goes outside, then the emotions will take over. Take over. So I like the last one even. When God starts blessing you, watch your ego. Means you shouldn't feel that, okay, now I have, become, so good. It's just God is blessing us. So, yeah. This is another image to understand. So when the mind is being controlled or when the mind is in control. When the mind is being controlled, the mind is in a state of just absorbing. I'm constantly absorbing. And that's what is, the mind becomes like a sponge. It just absorbs. And that's where the emotions will take on. But the mind that is in control will be more observing. It won't absorb. It will observe, which is like watching. Watching means I'm observing. A very nice time to observe, if we see, or way to understand observation, is driving. When we are driving, what are we doing? We're just observing the turn. We are not trying to take a turn, automatically happens. If we are taking a right turn or left turn, car is running, I just have to observe. I just have to be in the moment. I just observe the speed limit, right? We were discussing, and observe whatever is happening. So life is also like a journey. So just observe. Sometimes, scenes will come which may not be pleasant. I don't do anything. I just observe and continue with my journey. I just observe. Right. There is another little a scientific analysis of how this emotions affect our brain and how we can use the brain in that understanding to master our emotions. Let's watch that.
Emotions proceed from a part of the brain called the limbic system. It's not smart. It just creates these feelings and drives and desires. It's nothing conscious about it at all. If you stop there with your emotions, you'll be managed by them, and that's not what you want. You want to deliver the experience fully to your prefrontal cortex so you can decide what the emotions mean and how you're going to react. Only your conscious brain can do that, but you need techniques. Those techniques are called metacognition. Metacognition is awareness of awareness. It's thinking about thinking. What you're really doing is reflecting on what's going on in your emotional life. You're thinking about your own emotions such that your prefrontal cortex is looking at your limbic system. So for example, when you have little kids, they tend to be really emotional. And that's great sometimes, but sometimes it's an incredible pain. And so you'll say, don't scream, use your words. What you're actually saying is stop being so limbic. Use your prefrontal cortex. You want your kids to deliver the signal from their limbic system to their prefrontal cortex and make a decision about how they're going to react to their own emotions. So take your own advice that you give your kids. First, interrogate your emotions and then say what you want to say, not what you feel. That requires that we be comfortable with the fact that we have negative emotions in the first place. It's normal to have negative emotions. And then to have a repertoire of techniques to self-manage. One of the most common ones, the classic that most of us learned from our grandmothers, is when you're feeling angry, don't say anything until you count to 10. Researchers have put this to the test, and they found that the right number to count to is actually 30. What that's doing is giving a chance for your prefrontal cortex to catch up with your limbic system, and it's incredibly good advice. You will self-regulate. You'll also be prouder of yourself than what you wanted to say in the first place. Metacognition takes a lot of practice. It's not something that you read about it makes sense, and suddenly you can start practicing it perfectly. And you have to be pretty kind to yourself to recognize that you're going to fail a lot. There's a lot of research that shows that this is a skill to be practiced, and the more you practice, the better at it you get. These are habits and rituals that you will actually build up. Not only that, but you'll be happier. There's just so much research that shows that people who are able to moderate their feelings, manage their feelings, they're dramatically happier than people who are reactive. And, not coincidentally, they make other people happier around them.
So what it says is there is a limbic system in the brain, and limbic system in your brain का एक part है जहाँ पे emotions चलते हैं. तो emotions में फिर they don't argue, they're just being ruled by emotions. There is no reasoning. And there is one which is called prefrontal cortex, which is when we are, in stable mind. And so when we react, then actually the brain, the limbic system of the brain is operating. Like the example it gave of children, like small kids, when they react, they scream. So the limbic system of the brain is functioning. But what this method, whatever he's suggesting, metacognition is basically what Baba is also telling us, to become aware of your thinking, to become aware of what is happening inside. And whilst doing that, you're shifting that energy from the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. Limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. And a brain ke alag-alag part hai, different parts of the brain. But the idea is to come to that stability, and then, like the example it gave of not to say anything for the 30 or until you count to 30. So you're giving time so that you're not just saying something in the moment, but you're giving time to come to your inner stage and then say what you want to say. Right? So you don't say what you feel because that's your limbic system. Because that's what happens, right? If I'm not feeling good, I'm feeling frustrated, I'll say something. And that is operating from the limbic system. That's what will, aggravate the situation. But if I take a moment, that's why it's all about taking a pause, right? Not saying whatever or reacting whatever. So if we see emotions, one is commotion. Commotion means emotions that make you reactive. And the other is devotion. Devotion. Devotion is good wishes and pure feelings. Feelings that emerge by connecting to the truth in meditation. So it's like just changing those emotions and then feeling more of, emotions in meditation, emotions towards God, emotions for the pure self. So when Baba says, send Sakash, that is also an emotion, right? But when the mind is not, involved in any commotion, all these drama things, only then the mind can actually send these good wishes and pure feelings, right? And so that's why you say, direct your emotions towards the divine. Direct your emotions towards the divine. So जो भी हम feel कर रहे हैं, rather than directing towards anything in the drama, we direct it towards the divine. And that's where, so even if I'm feeling frustrated, I share it with God. Even if I'm feeling something, I share it with God. Because that's where everything will be, healed. And then feelings of, deep belonging and love then start to emerge. And then the soul feels that deep, living relationship with the divine. Otherwise, it becomes a very intellectual relationship, even with the divine. And that's where the meditation will feel dry. Right? I'm thinking about God. Okay, I'm a point of light. You're a point of light. You're ocean of virtues. But it may just be at the intellectual level. But in order to experience God's energy, I need to feel it. And that happens when I direct the emotions towards the divine. So we'll just end with this one slide. It says, angelic means only pure emotions. Right? So when the mind has been mastered and there are only pure emotions, emotions that come from the divine, that's what it really means to be angelic. So then the mind is just experiencing the truth, and everything is pure and beautiful. Cha, cha, Om Shanti. Thank you. Thank you, family. Let's take a moment and let's just realize that as spiritual beings, souls, we are the masters of our feelings, masters of our emotions, masters of our minds. Our attention is just on watching the self. Even whilst playing my part in this drama of life, my attention is on the self. I observe and enjoy this journey of life. And all my commotion is shifting towards devotion, feelings of love and belonging towards the divine and all the souls in this world. And slowly the mind becomes angelic, where I only see the goodness and the heart is filled with pure emotions. Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone, for your time and presence. Anyone would like to share any thoughts? Please feel free to. Those on the Zoom would like to go first.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Saurabh bhai. Thank you for another beautiful class. I joined a little late actually, but I really liked जैसे बाबा मुरली में भी कहते हैं कि सोच के सोचो. I think you referenced something about thinking about the thinking, and spending time with ourselves and spending time with our own thoughts. So how we can actually master that, and then also activating the prefrontal cortex. So thank you, Saurabh bhai.
Thank you, Simran.
Thank you, Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Saurabh bhai, for this beautiful Thursday sessions. I really like the point starting what exactly emotion is, which is energy in motion. A second point which I loved is about the quote which says CEOs are hired for their intellect and business expertise and fired for their emotional intelligence. So I will surely take this point uh, in my life. And as Simran Bhai also said that सोचने से पहले सोचो, cognitive thinking, I will practice that and take care of my emotions. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sanjay.
शांति. थैंक यू भाई जी. एक क्लास से आज जो चीज़ मुझे बहुत पसंद आई वो चीज़ ये था कि हम लोगों के लिए क्या करते हैं और क्या बोलते हैं, उस चीज़ मायने नहीं रखती, पर मायने यहाँ रखती है. और जो वो नहीं भूल सकती कि उसको हमने कैसे फील करवाया, हाउ दे फील. वो एक चीज़. दूसरा, लाइफ इज़ 10% and whatever happens to me, it's 90% of how I react. ये बहुत सुंदर लगी. दूसरा जो आपने जो बताया था कि हर चीज़ को वॉच करो, just watch yourself, कि about if you are angry and watch your temper, and if you are in the group then watch your behavior. बहुत सुंदर लगी जो. And if you are making money, then watch your pride, and if you are in the trouble, watch your emotion. That is very important. And the lastly, what you said, that when you are God starts blessing, watch your ego. That is the most important role plays in our life. So we need to watch our ego. Thank you, Vaiji. Thank you, Om Santi.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
I really liked, it's not what you say or you do, but the person will remember how you made them feel. That was very strong. And I never understood why you count to 10 or 20 or 30. And now I understand. Okay, it's to bring back some peace and calm. Very good points today. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Angels here to shift.
And every slide you message, and we should not react in the moment. And one thing that you mentioned, like we have to count. Earlier we have to count 1 to 10, but now 1 to 30. Then I implement whatever if I feel some emotions. And there was a like when our mind is strong, we don't. Sorry, what was that? I mean, we don't react. We observe the situation. No, we observe the ideas. So yeah, and not we have to start thinking about people's positivity rather than their negativity. So this all I'm thinking. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. I mean, wonderful points shared. The two that I'll get to takeaways for me are one is where you said, I mean, the slide said, the mind is a beautiful servant, but a dangerous master. And that's such a nice, I mean, Baba says that all the time, but the way it's put together, it's just, it's looking awareness of whether the mind is taking over and becoming a dangerous master to the soul. And then the other one was the metacognition. It's the way he said it, like interrogate your emotions, and then you say what you want to say, but not what you're feeling, because we have this impulse of communicating our feeling. We don't take time to figure out where it's coming from, like what's the root cause, and like that will come under self-awareness and reflection to figure out what happened. But that's all internal work. It's not so much of letting the other person know that this is what I'm feeling. And then the pause for 30, count to 30. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much. थैंक यू सौरभ भाई। अभी तक हम सुनते थे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंसी, लेकिन आज बड़ा अच्छा पॉइंट लगा कि इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंसी, तो एक नया लगा पॉइंट। तो बहुत ही इंजॉय किया आज क्लास का, और सबसे जो मेन जो लोगों ने बोला सब में वो तो है, लास्ट में जो कहा एंजल इमोशनल, एंजल फॉर्म कौन सी है? इमोशन इंटेलिजेंसी, और जो इमोशन पर कंट्रोल कर लेता है वो एंजल है, और जो शुभ वाइब्रेशन, तो ये बहुत यूनिक लगा। और तो सब अच्छा था ही, लोगों ने बोला वो सब नहीं। मुझे लगता है ये क्लास फिर से करानी चाहिए हिंदी में, ये बहुत अच्छा था, और आज यूनिकनेस थी काफी क्लास में, और ये मैच्योर लोगों के लिए थी आज। जैसे अभी तक हम सुनते थे तो लगता था ये बच्चे भी करेंगे तो बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन आज लगा कि मैच्योर बच्चे भी करेंगे तो और मैच्योर हो जाएंगे। तो अच्छा था टॉपिक। थैंक यू सर।
हिंदी में करेंगे सर। अच्छा मतलब किसी आदमी की अच्छा उसके व्यवहार से ही देखेंगे कि सबसे पहला व्यवहार दिखाई देता है कि वो कैसे बातचीत कर रहा है, कैसे कर रहा है। उसकी अंदर की अच्छा मतलब बाद में दिखाई देगी जब उसके साथ रहेंगे। और एक और मेरा पर्सनल फीलिंग है कि अगर कोई बात होती है तो हम उस अपने को उसकी जगह पर रख के सोचें कि अगर हम उसकी जगह पर होते तो क्या करते, और या जो हम उसके साथ करने जा रहे हैं अगर वही चीज कोई हमारे साथ करेगा तो मैं कैसा करेगा। ये
कहावत में दूसरे के जूते में पैर रख के देखो तो पता लगेगा उसमें कितनी तकलीफ है। तो वही है कि व्यवहार, इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस है जो व्यवहार, संतुलित व्यवहार अच्छा है क्लास। और ये तो है कि अपनी डे टू डे लाइफ के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, जरूरी भी है सब चीजें।
सारे पॉइंट्स बहुत अच्छे थे, बहुत कुछ लिया क्लास से, लेकिन सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रांगली जो फीलिंग ऑफ एंड में के डायरेक्ट योर इमोशंस टुवर्ड्स द डिवाइन, कि अदरवाइज मेडिटेशन भी ड्राइव लगती है कि जैसे कि आत्मा वो बाबा वो फिर कनेक्ट हो, उससे एक अपनापन आता है बाबा से। इमोशंस सारे, चाहे हम फ्रस्ट्रेटेड फील कर रहे हैं चाहे हम पॉजिटिव इमोशंस फील कर रहे हैं, कुछ नहीं। सो ये पॉइंट बहुत अच्छा लगा। एंड कीप वॉचिंग योरसेल्फ ऑल द टाइम, जो बाबा भी कहते हैं कि अटेंशन। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, everyone.
Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Vaishnavi.
rest of. Thank you. Good rest of the evening and a good day. Shanti.